Hey guys, welcome back to Free Tip Friday. Today we're going to talk about blades. Every woodworker loves to talk about blades, and I'm just going to share with you the types of blades that I use on my saws and why I think they're the tits. So we're going to start with saw blades, and my go-to table saw blade for ripping is the Diablo by Freud, and it's the thin kerf rip. But get this, it's not the thin kerf rip that you can get at Home Cheapo. It's the thin kerf rip industrial carbide. Now there's a difference. The quality of the carbide is much better on the industrial version, and these blades will obviously be available on my Amazon store if you don't want to try and search your local hardware store for them. So I'll specify those and list them on my Amazon store. So if you want to purchase them that way, go ahead. If not, you can find them at hardware stores also. The industrial carbide, I've never seen them at Home Depot or Lowe's or places like that. They're usually at local building supplier places. They might carry the industrial carbide. And I've only ever seen it in the thin kerf rip blade. But it's just the smoothest cutting blade, kind of bang for your buck. Now there are more expensive blades that might cut better, but honestly I've used more expensive blades like CMT and stuff like that, and they just don't cut like this thin kerf rip blade. It's 24 teeth on it, it's fast, it's smooth, it leaves such a clean cut, and it stays sharp for a long time. So this is the only blade I rip with. They're not the cheapest blades out there, obviously, but they give you really, really high quality results without being stupidly overpriced. Speaking of stupidly overpriced, would be this blade. This is my 12-inch blade that I use on my compound miter saw here. Took it off to show you. And this blade is by FS Tool. I know they're available here in Canada because I live in Canada, and this is where I got it. Whether you can get FS Tool in the States, I would think you can. If I can find these on Amazon, I'll put them on my Amazon store as well. And this is a 100-tooth finishing blade. So it cuts just sexy, smooth, perfect cuts every time. It's pretty thick and beefy. It's got these vibration reduction copper inserts in it. It's a beefy, well-built blade that will last a long time. It's got huge carbide teeth on it so you can resharpen it numerous times. Primarily what I do is finishing carpentry. So when that's all you do is cut trim that has to be perfect all the time, it's worth paying $200 for a blade because that's how much this thing costs. The Diablo blades I think are maybe around 190 to 100, maybe even cheaper at Home Depot for some of these 80-tooth 12-inch finishing blades. And what makes the Diablo so smooth is the Italian carbide. The Italians, they got good carbide. And just the engineering that goes into the blade, you can always tell a good blade because it has these little CNC cut, laser engraved vibration reduction cut patterns in the blade. And that just takes so much vibration out of the blade and just allows for a smoother cut. So when you see a blade that doesn't have any of these little cuts in them, these laser cuts, it's probably just a cheap blade and it's going to vibrate and not leave a super smooth cut. So that's kind of a telltale sign. And I use Diablos right down to my scale saws or my circular saws. And I try and use the 40 tooth. Whenever I'm cutting joinery freehand, I try and use this as much as I can just because it's really accurate, this little Makita 6.5. But the blade makes it's like half the process. If I was to put a cheap stock Makita blade in here, no offense Makita, but you suck at making blades, it just would not cut nearly as well as when you actually spend a little bit of extra money and put a nice Diablo blade in there. So guys, if you want to become a carpenter or a good carpenter, just start by at least spending the money where it counts, and the counts where the blade hits the wood, obviously. So spend the money on quality blades. If you're going to cheap out on your tools because of your budget or whatever reason, at least put a quality blade in, and that will make up, for a lot of cheap tools. So yeah, those are the blades I recommend. 80 tooth, 12 inch, or as high tooth count as you can for fine cuts, and then the 24 tooth for the rippers. And I use the 40 tooth in my circular saws. So in closing, best bang for your buck, in my opinion, is Diablo blades. That also goes for router bits. I use Diablo, the Freud router bits, and even the Freud Forstner bits are the best that I've found as far as just speed and clean cutting. So you can't go wrong with Freud on pretty much all levels because they're a company that just makes blades. So obviously they're going to do it really well because they're in Italy, and it's just, come on, put two and two together. Freud blades. If you found the information in this video helpful, feel free to check out the products on my Amazon store, hit the like button before you go, and share this video with anybody you think might benefit. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you next time. Samurai out.